All right, imagine this for a second. You're either thinking about getting into tech or you already are in tech and you can't go anywhere without hearing about layoffs. You're constantly hearing about layoffs, layoffs here, layoffs there, and how tech jobs are becoming scarce, boot campers are flooding the industry, and how hard it is to get a job and get your foot in the door, how salaries are being reduced, etc., etc., how the golden age of coding is over. And this makes you feel a lot of anxiety, a lot of fear, wondering if this tech industry still has space for more people. And this is how I felt when I was trying to get into the industry. And I'm going to talk a lot more about that. I'm going to talk more about kind of the situation right now with tech layoffs and my take on it. Without further ado, let's get into it. Just a really quick introduction for those who may not know me. I pivoted into computer science, I want to say 3 years ago, maybe. And I got my dream job working at a Silicon Valley tech company about 2-ish years ago. And in this channel, I share my journey, things I've learned along the way to hopefully help you out if you're trying to achieve a similar goal. Without further ado, let's get into the content, right? So I want you to picture this for a second. I'm sitting at my desk and I literally want to break my laptop because I'm frustrated, I'm feeling anxious. And the reason for this is I had just gotten back the results from one of my introduction to programming course assignments, and I ended up getting a 50%, or I think under a 50%. And at that time, I'm immediately wondering, am I even cut out for tech? Can I even make it? Because I came from a non-traditional background. I came from a criminology degree. And it seemed at that time, it felt like this was a field for very smart people. And even those people were struggling. Because back then as well, there was news going around about like layoffs and how the golden era of tech is over and all such things. By the way, I have some notes in front of me if I'm looking to the side, just looking at my notes. So the first point I want to bring up is doom and gloom is what gets attention online, right? We all know this negativity gets attention online. And I've been hearing about this literally since the day I tried to get into tech. And right now we're hearing about it as well as tech is going through another downturn. But since the day I tried to get into tech, I've been hearing about this, the golden tech era is over. It's getting harder to get a job. And even the company I work for right now, they had mass layoffs during COVID. And this was all the information I was consuming while I was trying to get into the industry. Admittedly, there were positives during the COVID for tech as well. Some companies were really killing it. But in any case, the company that I currently work for, they had mass layoffs. And I was seeing this information, as I was trying to get into the industry. And another point, which I'll touch on after, is there was also a lot of doom and gloom around my area specifically. I live in Canada, right? And there was, always posts about, oh, Canada salaries are super low, Canada salaries are never enough, and things like that. And I'll touch on that a little bit later. So negativity gets attention online. It'll always get attention online. Not to say that tech isn't having a downturn right now. It definitely is. But it's not as bleak as the internet makes it seem. And we can figure this out by taking an objective look at the situation. So let's look at some labor statistics, right? So the Bureau of Labor Statistics for the US, and I'll put all these links in the description for reference, predicts that software developers, the job outlook from 2021 to 2031 is 25%, which they have rated as much faster than average compared to other occupations. And if we take a look at the Canadian statistics and the labor market conditions over the next 10 years for software developers, there is expected to be a shortage, and just about every province has the job prospects listed for software developers as either good and 5 stars, 4 stars, or very good at 5 stars. So again, an objective look is important, right? So when we look at these labor statistics and the high salaries that are being paid, tech is still doing very good compared to other professions, right? And the other point I want to bring up is it's important to have a positive outlook, right? Now, I know some people will say, oh, but it's like having rose-tinted glasses, whatever. Like, fine, okay, but what's the harm in that? If you're trying to get into this industry, what benefit do we get exactly by having a negative outlook on this, right? If you're trying to get in and you're going to assume that, oh, no company's hiring, things are terrible, and it's exactly how you see with these doom and gloom posts online, I feel like you're already shooting yourself in the foot before you even begin, right? The most practical benefit that we can get is from keeping the positive mindset. I'm not saying don't be objective, but again, when we look at the objective statistics and everything else, we see that having a positive mindset and staying pushing will likely lead to good results in this scenario. So that's my take on it. I say keep the positive outlook. Of course, again, some people will counter that, say, oh, it's rose tinted glasses. Hey, whatever. For me, I've noticed keeping the positive attitude has helped me the most. And, that's what I would continue with. And I'm going to touch on a little bit and how it's helped me specifically, right? So let's talk about this. Imagine this. I've literally it cannot stop smiling for days, right? I remember this so explicitly. And this was when I got my job offer for the company that I currently work for. And I'm almost tearing up a little bit as I talk about it because it really was that emotional of an experience. And that first offer letter was for a six-figure salary, right? And the reason it almost makes me cry is because if you look at my past, I've failed high school, didn't do failed a bunch of courses in high school, didn't do that well, didn't really do that well in college either, messed up a good amount. So I've messed up for a good amount of my life previously, right? And while I was learning to code, as I mentioned previously, there was the doubts would constantly fill my mind. Is this still worth it? Some people are talking about how it's so hard to get a job and how, coding is not as in demand as it used to be. Is it still worth it? Is it still worth it? And that was cycling through my mind for 2-3 years. And that question was finally answered when I got that job offer. That feeling, again, I couldn't stop smiling for days. And that feeling is indescribable. And it's not about the money, right? Like, of course, the money is nice. I was like broke before then, so it was nice to finally not be broke. But it's also this feeling of achievement that I had achieved a goal that I had set out to, and that was a beautiful feeling, and that's what I want for you as well. Now, one point to keep in mind is at the time, right? People kept saying, "Oh, Canadian salaries suck. Canadian salaries suck. You can't make six figures in Canada until you're like a senior working for 5 years." And this is something I want to touch on again with the positive outlook. I always kept a positive outlook on the situation. So even if Canadian salaries suck, I was like, okay, there are still outliers, and even back then there were outliers who were making a good amount of money while staying in Canada. They would get like contract roles, or they would, they would be a little bit more creative and figure things out. And I thought, hey, I would be one of those persons if a company hires me and they're not really paying me the best, and I need more money. I can figure out contracts. I can figure something out to make sure I have the money I need. So I kept a positive outlook and I kept pushing, right? And luck kind of shone on me, like shined on me, I guess is the word, in the sense that right as I entered the job market, this was after COVID when everything had kind of moved remote. So a lot of American companies were hiring in Canada. So now six figures right out of college was way less uncommon than it was before. And I happened to get that opportunity, right as I came out of university as well. So had I not kept that positive outlook, had I bought into the doom and gloom and negative posts that I was seeing, I would have given up well before, and I wouldn't have had the opportunity that I have today. I really just want to end this video off with a message, which is be kind to yourself. Again, stay positive. If this is what you really want, there is opportunity out there, right? Tech is only being used more and more as we move forward, right? And look, the fact of the matter is no one can predict the future. We can only take an objective look at the trends and make a decision based on that and decide whether or not that decision is good for us. So I can't make the decision for you whether or not, you should still pursue tech despite the downturn right now or such things. That's a decision you'll have to make on your own. But I hope with this video, I've at least provided some concrete evidence to back up my argument that, hey, this, tech industry still has a lot of opening if you want to come in, and also the importance of keeping a positive mindset throughout these downturns because they've happened before, and likely they will happen again. So yeah, that's all I have for this video. Thank you so much for watching. Please do follow on the Instagram, TikTok. I'll add those somewhere over here. And thank you so much for watching this video. I'll talk to you later. Peace.